Hello my friends and welcome back. It's Tuesday, so happy Tuesday to you. Today we will start with a drone video from the front. I would have never guessed I actually show one of these again ever since the summer of 2022 when I used to make whole drone compilations. I cannot do them now because YouTube toughened up their policies big time, like 300%. But this one is too gold, too good to ignore. I have to show it to you because with this one we have the direct communication between the recon drone up above, the commander of it, and the tank commander. You know, there's a tank assault going on and they communicate with each other with the drone guy trying to give instructions to the tank column. And where did they drive? Straight onto the Ukrainian minefields. And the communication back and forth, I think this gives us a perfect illustration of how good the communication and organization of the Russian army and assaults are. They're not very good, but I wanna read the subtitles to you. Now, I'm sorry that you cannot see the video. The link is in the description below. So you can go and check it out yourself. Right. Right, more. Look, there is a dig. And who is talking is the drone guy who sees the whole overview. And in the screen that you cannot see right now, it's blurred, there's 4 tanks. One by one, as you can see, those you have all seen these Russian tank assaults. And they're crossing the Ukrainian field. There's a dig. The gun is 30-0. Look, there is a dig. Look, there is a mine. Look, they have dug up this area. There is a mine. He's yelling that because he sees that. What do you think the tank commander cares about it? Although it's his life that will be taken on them. He doesn't care. Let them go there. Where is the dig? Right, more. More rights. Your right or my right? Your right. The drone passed. The tanks are advancing slowly. There's a kamikaze drone somewhere up above hunting them already. Guys, don't stop. Go forward. The drone, guys, don't stop. There is a drone. Go, go, go. The drone. Oh my god, okay, the drone hit something right now and the front tank for some reason stopped and is backing off now. So the second tank hit the front tank from the rear. There's just a traffic jam. Left and forward. The drone. Left and forward. My god. Okay, I will fast forward because there's a cluster F going on here. Now they got moving again. And now I see already 6 or 7 tanks. So I guess their comrades joined them. The drone is on us. I hit the drone. Yeah, usually when kamikaze drone hits the tank, when in Russia, the tank hits the drone with itself. I hit the drone, go ahead. Go ahead. The road is covered with mines. The cable car cannot move. All fields are covered with mines. 2 tanks have already exploded. This thing goes on forever. I'm not gonna waste any more video time for it. Anyway, it is a communications and organization and leadership cluster F. It is as bad as can be. There is no doctrine here. You would say, oh, what is the Russian fighting doctrine, offensive doctrine? It's non-existent. They have it on the book, they have it on the paper, they teach it to all of the comrades, but they don't follow it. They just send tanks, they have a drone up above and they just talk to each other like civilians arguing, like, go left, go right, what are you doing? Come back, I cannot go. Yeah, it's a comedy. My friends, many people are analyzing that we're all waiting for the F-16s, then the war will turn. We're waiting for the Taurus, then the war will turn. One of the things people don't talk is Ukraine already has the weapons to make this war turn around, to turn the tables, because Russia is able to conduct all of the logistics. And I remind, every war is a war of logistics, and more so this war is totally for the Russian side. They need mass assaults, mass weaponry, mass everything, which is mass logistics. This only works if logistics is not attacked. Ukraine cannot attack the logistics because they're not allowed to use donated weapons on Russian territory. Russia knows this, which means they can conduct their logistics on Russian territory very close to the front line, actually. But on Russian territory, they know, oh, this huge pile of ammunition here cannot be struck. We can put it here, and from here it's very easy to push it to the front. So the fact this one rule from the Western powers, from America actually, because France and Great Britain has already announced that they don't care, use the weapons. But American weapons, ATACMS mostly, which are the most effective on this, cannot be used to strike very vital Russian logistics centers on Russian territory, close to the front, allowing Russians to conduct mass assaults and not worry about their logistics at all. If Russian logistics doesn't work, their front doesn't work. That's how it is with any army, any war. But Ukraine is hindered right now from taking these logistics away from the Russians. What they can do is strike the oil refining capabilities with their own drones. Zelensky tells Reuters in an exclusive interview that they have been pleading for permission to strike Russian territory with donated weapons. So far, there's nothing positive, he said. A peculiar thing is that United Kingdom and France have both verbally said that yes, our weapons can be used on Russian soil, or we don't oppose them being used. But we have not seen a single instance of Scalp or Storm Shadow being used on Russian soil. So behind the scenes, something different is going on. And mark my words, I would predict that as soon as we see massive attacks of ATACMS and Storm Shadow on Russian soil, the Russian army is not going to be able to advance anywhere anymore on the front. Their advancements are only because their logistics are working, and the logistics is only working because it is not struck, because Ukraine is not allowed to strike it. That's my take on it, at least. My friends, I know it is getting repetitive, but Russian Black Sea Fleet, all of the ships, the single ships, they just long to be at the bottom of the sea, under the sea. They want to be a submarine like the Moscow was turned into a submarine. According to unconfirmed sources, on the night of May 19th, 2024, a Russian Project 22800 Cyclone, or Kiklops in Russian, small missile carrier, was sunk in the port of Sevastopol as a result of a missile strike. The Russian Navy received the ship in July 2023, so this is the newest ship in the Russian Black Sea Fleet. July 2023. It was received and put on the water for the Russian fleet at the time already of the full-scale invasion. It was built in Kerch. The strike was allegedly carried out by 2 ATACMS ballistic missiles. And you know what's interesting? The hull of this ship is 11 meters. The ratio of the miss of the target for that distance is 9 meters. So if you set the coordinates at the very center of that ship, you pretty much cannot miss. So yeah, this ship was taken and promoted to be a submarine by United States ATACMS. These very same ATACMS that could be very effectively used on Russian soil, but now they're promoting ships to submarines. Now, why these new ships? Well, because it's a missile carrier. Ukraine could hunt larger ships and more expensive ships, but they are hunting missile capabilities. You see, Ukraine struck Iskander missile complexes in Crimea about a month ago. That reduced, we have the statistics, it reduced attacks on Odessa, missile attacks on Odessa, about 50%. Now Ukraine is also focusing down these missile carriers. One by one, if you take away these missile capabilities, this will directly save Ukrainian civilian lives in the Black Sea coast and frontline villages and cities, because Russia cannot fly the missiles or shoot out the missiles. These capabilities are not endless in Russia. They're very limited, actually. So taking them out saves lives directly, and this is what Ukraine is doing. This ship could have fired tens of missiles per week, which can translate into tens of casualties per week for Ukraine. So, in my eyes, a very good target. And my friends, this is too priceless. You know these online verifications where you have to verify you're not a robot? Select all the squares with the Russian Black Sea Fleet. Damn it, I don't see any. How am I gonna verify that I'm not a robot? I guess in this instance, I am a robot. Now, my friends, we'll go to Iran because Iranian President Raisi got killed during a helicopter accident. Also the foreign minister, they were both on a helicopter. And there's already so many memes about it, and I want to share them, but sorry I can't, because this would be too many jokes. I'll just share one that, of course, it was Israeli Mossad. They installed a 30,000-foot pole right in front of the path of the helicopter. That's how they did it. Anyway, the chopper crashed in Iran. The power elites have issued the closing of the country, closing down of everything for a few days because they're afraid of the coup. Because in Iran, such a controlled, closed society under sanctions, under immense foreign pressure, if anything happens inside in the political structure, first of all, people will find their opportunity to do something. Officials want to start fighting for the power positions. A power vacuum occurs, which is dangerous, and they're afraid of the coup. So many things can happen right now in Iran. This is why they're grabbing control and shutting down the country for a few days. They also announced that officially there will be new elections of the president of June 28th. They're trying to re-establish that, oh, we are in control, we can conduct these elections. In reality, the power elites of Iran right now are really afraid of a very unstable internal situation. And you know why they're afraid? Because in their country it shows. Before we go to Iran, I'll show you in London. This is London Iranian embassy. And these are Iranian people living abroad celebrating with a dance the death of Iranian President Raisi. And for me personally, if you know what Raisi has done, his government has done, I'm not going to name these things because I have to get paid also. I cannot demonetize this video, but they're as horrible as can be for women and children especially. European Union countries forwarded their condolences to the Iranian government for the loss of the president. I don't understand this. Iranian president is very directly connected to supporting and funding and weaponizing Russian war effort in Ukraine. Why would European Union countries forward their condolences? I don't understand. I don't get it, but perhaps I'm too simple for it. For me, he was a war criminal, a genocidal maniac, and the world is a better place without him. Now, my friends, I want to share you a very short interview, actually not an interview, but 1 minute. Timothy Snyder in Tallinn, the city where I am actually, talking about how we are in 1938. His talk is pretty much gold. I agree with almost everything, but there are a few things I want to comment on as an Estonian, because the viewpoint does not take into account my part of the world.
Jim, you said that we're about to be in 1939. I'm going to agree with you in a certain way. My comparison would be 1938. This is 1938, but Czechoslovakia has chosen to fight.
So
Czechoslovakia has chosen to fight. So you have an imperfect democracy. It's the furthest democracy east in Europe. It's not perfect. It has various problems. But when threatened by a larger neighbor, it chooses to resist. In that world where Czechoslovakia resists, there's no Second World War. The Czechs had a good army. They could have held the Germans back. It was largely a bluff on the German side. If the Czechs resist, then the French and the British and maybe the Americans eventually start to help. There would have been a conflict, but there wouldn't have been a Second World War.
Yes, for most of the people in the Western world, this is good news. But for me as an Estonian, I have a completely different viewpoint because, yeah, there's no Second World War. There's no blitz on London, possibly. Good. Hooray. But Estonia would still be occupied by the Soviet Union. Finland would still have their winter war, and possibly they would lose it even worse than they did, because then Germany wouldn't have attacked Soviet Union, so Stalin would have forwarded all their forces to Finland. Latvia, Lithuania occupied, Poland taken by Soviet Union. So Timothy Snyder, I cannot agree with you here. Yes, there will not be a world war. There will be a conflict, but this conflict for me means the loss of my country. So if the Czechoslovakia would have fought back, wouldn't have changed anything for Estonia. That opportunity was already left by the Western powers.
When Germany invaded Poland in 1939, It was invading Poland with the Czech armaments industry, which was the best in the world. It was invading with Slovak soldiers. It was invading from a geographical position that it only gained because it had destroyed Czechoslovakia. So if the Ukrainians give up, or if we give up Ukraine, then it's a different Russia making war in the future. It's a Russia making war with Ukrainian technology, Ukrainian soldiers.
I will say it now, Russia, Ukraine combined army, if they would be in war, one army, I think that would be one of the best armies in the world. I would call it better than China, maybe rivaling the US on the land, not definitely in the air and not on the sea, but just infantry. Their army is, Russia and Ukraine are right now their armies are the most experienced armies in warfare right now. China fought their last real war 40 years ago. The United States pulled out of Afghanistan. They, of course, are always fighting somewhere, but not with 1 million men like Ukraine is and like Russia is soon to be. So these would be a very, very big problem for all of the powers, the most powerful powers in the world, the Western powers, if Russia would take Ukraine. Because they would not only take the land, they would take so much more. And we're not even talking about the resources in the land in Ukraine. Ukraine, coincidentally, is incredibly rich in resources. So it's not only about the army and the drones and the tanks and the capabilities. There's so much more.
From a different geographical position. Then we're in 1939. We're in 1938 now. In effect, what the Ukrainians are letting us do is they're letting us extend 1938. They're helping us to stay out of 1939. So my answer is no, it's not inevitable. The Ukrainians are giving us this chance, and we have to take this chance if we want to prevent a great power war.
And I'll say it again, Estonia, with this analysis, no world war in 1939, Estonia would have still been occupied. I just want to say that I'm glad that at this time in this history, I'm at the right side of history, and I know that my elected government, since I'm a person who votes in Estonia, then I'm part of this government, this country, and this electoral system here. My elected government is making the decisions differently than 1939 when the dictator of Estonia gave away Estonia to the Soviets, let the armies in without a single shot. I know this is not going to happen this time because we have a strong army, we have strong allies right now present and will be present for the next decade. So we will fight back for every inch of our land. My friends, now I want to open up a point a little bit of how Europe is at war with Russia. Russia knows this, and they have advantage because they know it and they're using it, and we're at war, we're focusing everything on attacking Europe. They are doing this. But Europe has an issue because European leaders, European countries do not recognize Russian weapons. How easy it is to attack somebody who doesn't know that they are being attacked, but at the same time they're bleeding. Can you imagine? You're stabbing somebody and they're like, oh, did something happen? And they're bleeding to death. This is what's going on in Europe right now. Russia is conducting sabotage missions, sabotage operations that are very costly, and they take away directly from European Union countries' economies, billions taken away from these economies, and the European Union does not recognize. Estonia does, Latvia does, you know the drill. All of the ex-Soviet countries, the border countries with Russia, they know the drill. We know the language, we know the signs, we know what is a weapon and what is not. But Germany or Spain or Italy, they don't understand that cutting a cable, for example, or blowing up a paint factory or burning IKEA in Poland, all of this is an insane weapon wielded by Russia that cannot be seen as a weapon by European countries. German prosecutors last month detained two dual Russian-German nationals suspected of spying from Moscow with the goal of disrupting Western military assistance to Ukraine through sabotage. Britain's cyber intelligence agency GCHQ is increasingly concerned about growing links between the Russian intelligence services and proxy groups to conduct cyber attacks, as well as suspected physical surveillance and sabotage operations. On October 7th, the Chinese-registered container ship New Polar Bear left Russia's Baltic Sea port of Kaliningrad and sailed north. Staffed by a Russian crew, it crossed the pipeline's area at the same time that the link broke. This was the pipeline of Finland and Estonia under the Baltic Sea. Fixing that is very time-consuming and very resource-consuming, expensive. And it's broken. Nobody knows who to blame. Nobody knows who did it really. Was it an accident? And to say that this was an accident, in my eyes, is again to be the bleeding guy who doesn't know he's being attacked. It was Russia. Finnish investigators believe that the pipeline was cut by the new polar bear's anchor. Immediately after the pipeline was cut, Finnish officials identified the ship as potential culprit, but they were unable to search it because it was in international waters. This pipeline cut really hurts Estonia and Finland. Of course, I mean, we're strong countries with strong backbones of strong middle class. It doesn't like sink the countries or anything, but still, it's tens of millions to be poured now, not for building schools and hospitals or roads or maintaining any public transport. It's to repair this pipeline. And this is what Russia can do without anybody blaming them, because European Union countries, they don't know that they're being attacked. They don't recognize it, or they don't want to recognize it. In Germany, officials and investigators say that they suspect Russia could have been behind an attack on the railroad that temporarily halted all rail traffic in the north of the country in October 2022. All rail traffic. Germany is heavily industrialized. Much of that is connected to rail. I mean, you got to move stuff one point to another. Transportation is very expensive unless you use rail. If rail doesn't work, that is, again, hundreds of millions or even $1 billion of your economy. If you're talking about, for example, a week that a certain district can't work with the rail. The rail attackers crippled both the railway's main communication network and its backup by almost simultaneously severing two data cables located roughly 200 miles apart, investigators said. Whoever carried out the sabotage had detailed knowledge about the network, investigators said. In my eyes and my understanding, Russia is attacking Europe right now. As plain and robust and simple as it is, attacking. They are at war with us, and Europe doesn't even know. They don't know. Oh, rail broken, accident. Oh, cable broken, accident. GPS jamming, cyber attacks, that must be coincidence. And at the end, it's death by 1,000 cuts if you don't react. So I'm calling, if any European leaders are watching this, then, my dude, recognize a weapon. Now, my friends, we jump to Lugansk, because the morning for the Russian occupiers in Lugansk started not with a coffee, but with a missile strike on the base near Academy of Internal Affairs. The Russians immediately showed the fragments. A convenient engraving supposedly indicates the country of origin of this weapon, and let's see which is it. Made in France, it's Scalp. It's a big baguette that they were hit with. Le baguette. La résistance. I don't know how to speak French, but yes, many Russians were demilitarized, knocked out cold, sent to push up sunflowers in Lugansk. It was a good, successful attack. And these are happening all the time. Imagine if these were happening now in the Russian territory, where these clusters of men and clusters of ammunition or supplies are very dense, because Russians know that they cannot be attacked on Russian soil because the Western powers are afraid of escalation. Now think about that. The Western powers' fear of escalation is what allows Russia to conduct very successful logistics of the front. This is sick in my eyes, but that's how it is. Now, my friends, we'll jump to a Russian high school. Yes, this is a high school, and I'll read you the subtitles. This soldier comes, and you can see on the screen in the back on the blackboard written Storm Z, I think. I cannot see. Anyway, this guy is talking to the high schoolers that don't go to university, don't find a job, come to the army. Today we have a wonderful man, a hero of Russia. A participant in the combat operations, Duringol Danila Yurievich. Please welcome him. Hello, guys. Today is a very difficult time for our country. We are running out of soldiers, and there is no one to replace us. This is a war for a long time. It's a holy war for the truth. We are at war against true evil, which cannot be sinned by any method. So if we lose alive, they will leave no one behind. They will come for your mom, sisters, brothers, all of that fear talk. I'm not going to even continue here. But the thing is, these high schoolers, I mean, if you remember me also back in high school, me in high school, I did a band, I worked out, and I played a lot of Call of Duty and computer games. And I know in Russia, for example, Counter-Strike Go is extremely popular, always has been. These guys also are playing it. You bet it. I know they are. You don't even have to question it. They're playing a game developed by the Western nations. They're listening to Western music. They love their McDonald's or Vkusnaya Tochka in Russia right now. They're wearing Adidas, as you could see. They have iPhones probably. All of these guys, they don't even think about the war. They just, it's high school. You're partying, you're having fun, you know. And they are already guiding these unsuspecting, let's call it what they are, children towards the destruction. My friends, and now I bring you an analysis by Joni Askola, the Finnish naval fella who is right now conducting his own successful fundraiser for Ukraine. He's an incredible analyst, and that's why I love to give his thoughts on, for example, today, Ukrainian mobilization. How many men will Ukraine mobilize? And they are mobilizing already. When Zaluzhny was service as a commander-in-chief, Zelensky noted that the armed forces had requested the mobilization of 450,000 men. That was at the time of Zaluzhny. Now, when Zyrski came in, the situation changed a bit because they found that some thousands of men were not deployed, but they could have been. So, possibly, we don't know the true amount, it's secret of course, but it looks like to be 300 to 400,000 in that ballpark. That's the goal of the Ukrainian mobilization. Now, below 25-year-olds, you cannot mobilize. I have to say that again, because Russian propaganda points are feeding that the children are being sent to the war. So I'll say that again. According to Ukrainian law, you cannot mobilize younger than 25-year-old men. Only 25 to older. But you cannot leave the country if you're 18 to 50, or was it to 60. Ukraine has the manpower in the country. They do have. Now, they cannot recruit such a big amount of men, so they have to mobilize. If they do, they have to make it step by step, slowly. Because mobilizing hundreds of thousands at once, like Russia did in the fall of 2022, it was a failure, complete, utter cluster F. Ukraine doesn't want to do it like that. So they'll do it step by step, 10,000 at a time, 10,000 at a time, slowly replenishing the army's ranks. Also, what's very important and what is not happening on the Ukrainian front line, unfortunately, is rotations. Ukrainian troops are tired. Let's be honest, they're depressed. They haven't seen their families some of them for 2 years actually, because there's nowhere to send them. The front will be empty. They need rotations. They need rest. And actually, some of them need to be demobilized because they have given their part. But unfortunately, the Ukrainian leadership has promised demobilization for some veterans who are still fighting. But Joni Askola also says, and I don't see that happening, because Ukraine is in an acute shortage of manpower. In that situation, you cannot demobilize your soldiers, especially if they are the experts, the veterans who have spent the most amount of time on the front. They would be the one who will teach the newbies. And if they can give forward with what they have learned, that will extend the life of the newbies. So demobilizing them, unfortunately, in my eyes, is not an option. They can have their rotations possibly, and I do hope they can. To sum up, 300 to 400,000 men will be mobilized into the Ukrainian armed forces in 2024, bit by bit, not all at once. My friends, like in every video for years, I've done it. I'm gonna butcher some buy me a coffee name. In the last video, somebody said, "Oh, Artur Ray, the name butcherer." I would have never guessed that's gonna be like a nickname or a thing I'm known for, name butchering. It's just a fun thing I do to show my gratitude for the supporters. If you're a monthly members, I'll be killing your name. Evan Lang, Alek Kutkrie, Frank Limakher, Mark Telford Lapirov, Dana Arsenault, Staruch. Staruch. That's in Kirillitsa. I think it's Staruch. Thank you for all of the supporters, monthly members of Buy Me a Coffee. If you like my channel, then you know what to do. My friends, I'll leave you with a video introducing the Rehi clothing brand. Right now it's 25% discount. If you go in the link in the description to rehistore.com, you will get for nice price, very nice items. And through that, you actually support Ukraine, because a percentage of that will always be put to supporting Ukraine, buying the vehicles for Ukraine, because it's part of the Arthur's Army Ukraine Aid platform. Everything bought from all of those platforms is supporting Ukraine. That's how I built it. Thank you, my friends. Until my next video, Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye. My friends, we at the Rehi team have taken the next huge step in Ukraine aid operations. The operation is public at rehiartur.com. I'll walk you through it. On rehiartur.com, you have two options. By clicking on Rehi Store, you can discover a whole new clothing brand called Rehi, and you can see the page on the screen and in the description below. There are two collections, Rehi and Ukraine Classics. I wanted to give you a way to show your mindset through the designs you wear, and thus Rehi was born. You can show your support for the freedom of the Ukrainian nation by wearing the most iconic designs connected to the Ukrainian fight for independence. For example, with love from Ukraine, or in HIMARS with trust. If you wish to go more conservative, then Rehi collection is for you. The Rehi brand stands for what I stand for, the freedom of one's nation to determine their own fate. By the way, you can even surprise your companion with a gift card for a present. Okay, that was scary, starting my first clothing brand. But that's not all. On rehiartur.com, we can click on Arthur's Army to go to arthursarmy.com. Whole new Ukraine aid platform. You can see that Arthur's Army has delivered close to $500,000 worth of equipment to Ukraine. And if you scroll down, you can see 3 operations to contribute to: drones, vehicles, and humanitarian aid for those who wish to help Ukrainian orphans. All delivered drones and vehicles show up if you scroll down even more. As you can see, Ukrainian victory loading is in progress. You can click on read more to any of the 3 missions to find out more information about the specifics and past successes. My friends, I'll go through the checkout with you. For example, let's pick drones and let's click donate. It guides us to this really cool checkout page. Contribution for the purpose. You can choose multiple categories. The summary will be shown down below. For example, one cheap kamikaze drone costs 1,000 USD. So if you click 1,000, it's 1 tank destroyed. If you click 500, it's 0.5 tanks destroyed. And if you play around with this one right here, you get the exact number of tanks destroyed. We're talking about Russian tanks demilitarized, of course. This is the most cost-efficient and fastest way to knock the occupiers out cold. Now, if you're finished with drones and you want to add something more to your cart, click vehicles, and one vehicle costs 15,000 USD, so you can choose your own amount or play around with this one here to choose a smaller amount, and you can see it translates immediately. You can fill out your entire cart like that. Or humanitarian aid, we will be delivering laptops to Ukrainian orphans so they can continue learning and their education path. If you have chosen everything, you can do the checkout by PayPal or credit card, which is Stripe, and boom, that's how easy it is. I will be creating footage, images, and videos. I'll be putting all of the convoys on my YouTube channel, on my Buy Me a Coffee page, on everywhere. So you can see that your money is put in perfect use in the most efficient and fastest way possible. Your skills and expertise can be used for Ukrainian victory, so join Arthur's Army. For that, there is a form to fill out, and that's it. We will be in touch when we have a mission for you. My friends, together we will bring Ukraine to victory. Slava Ukraini.